Oh my goodness. Welcome back. Am I saying welcome back? Welcome. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm telling myself welcome back because it feels like it's been forever, but in truth, it's only been 3 weeks since I recorded the last episode. So if you are new here, this is a mostly knitting related podcast, video podcast, vlog cast, whatever. Occasionally I get into some other crafty things, and this episode is a very diverse craft situation. We've got knitting, we've got crochet, we've got sewing, we've got overdying clothes, overdying yarn, we've got upcycling, we've got what am I missing? I'm missing something. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got new sock techniques. So this is going to be a fun one. Okay, so if you're new here, my name is Jamie. I'm the yarn dyer behind m1yarns.com. I'm based in Metro Detroit, Michigan. And let's just dive right in. Let's just do it. Okay, so as you guys know, if you've been around for a minute, I like to, through this podcast, facilitate a knit along or make along several times a year. And we're about to kick off the next one, and I'm really excited for it. It's called the Back to Basics Knit Along, and it's really casual. Whips are allowed, new cast-ons are allowed. Basically, the gist of it is knit a basic sweater. No color work, no cables, no lace work, just something classic and simple that you will wear for decades to come. And this was inspired by a girlfriend of mine, hey Kelly, who had reached out. She knew that I love the Cozy Classic Raglan sweater by Jessie Maid Designs, which this was the first time I knit it. This was knit using my sock yarn held with mohair, both in the colorway Night. This was the first time. Then I knit it again in a short sleeve version because I love the pattern so much, and I thought it would be like a good basic tee for those spring days where you want something a little cozy but you don't want long sleeves. Anyway, she reached out and she said, hey, I know that you love that sweater. I'm thinking about making it. And I was like, ooh, I want to make it again because I have this yarn that I have had, you know, like caked up and ready to go for the longest. And so we were going to do like our own little mini knit along. Well, then I got to thinking that I needed to organize a new knit along here. And I thought, why not just make it a thing? So for a chance to win a prize, post to Instagram with this hashtag between March 1st and June 1st. For a chance to win a prize. Also, I've got a Ravelry forum if you're into that platform. It's linked below. All my where you can find me is linked below. And so we're going to kick that off March 1st, which, let's see, we're in the last week of February right now. So get your yarn ready, get your pattern ready. There are lots of pattern suggestions that I have, some of which, in addition to the Cozy Classic Raglan, are the Classic by Espace Tricot, which is a free pattern. The Felix. Someone asked me, can I knit the Felix for this? And I said yes. They asked in specific about that because that one has, where the raglan increases are, they're made with a yarn over, creating almost like a lacy eyelet appearance. And so they asked, you know, would that qualify? Yes, this is really casual, really loose. So if you're knitting any sort of basic sweater, you're good to join. I will say stripes are allowed, because I feel like that's just a color change. That's not a technique. Of course, Daisy had to kick the tripod. No podcast is complete without one of my dogs kicking the camera tripod. Anyway, so I'm really excited to launch that knit along. So please join me. And if you are going to join in, comment below what pattern you think you'd like to make. If you go to my project page on Ravelry, I do have a lot of these patterns that I've mentioned, plus more, where you can check out my notes and photos and whatnot for inspiration. Anyway, all right, so I did indicate at the top of this episode that I had been crafty lately. Where do I even start? Oh, let's start with the overdying. You know, last episode I mentioned that the cardigan I was wearing in that episode, which was like a basic ivory, had a little, you know, detail down the sleeve, but I wasn't digging the ivory anymore. It was undyed yarn, and I just decided I had too much ivory in my wardrobe and I wanted something different. I was feeling the creative bug. So I'll try to insert some photos in here while I talk you through this. But I initially thought, oh, let's dye it gold. I'm really into gold lately. And I was not 100% satisfied with the finished product of that gold for this garment. I like the color, just not for this. So I decided to go back to the dye pans and get really crazy. I just felt like, let me just go with abandon. And I speckled, and it was horrible. But sometimes you gotta like go through some horrible steps to get to a good end. So then I thought, okay, now I've got to overdye it, like, to cover this hot boiling mess up and to basically get rid of the gold. So I overdyed it in a brownish, I don't even think I wrote down what I used. I think I know what I used. I mean, ballpark. But here's the finished object. So on camera, it's looking really weird. I'll have to take a photo. It's like definitely looking different on the camera. It's like picking up more low lights, or highlights, I should say. But anyway, you can still see some of the gold coming through. Yeah, this is terrible on camera. I'll take a photo. The light in here is super weird. I've got a window here, a light right above me, a light to the side, and it's just really difficult. Anyway, I will pop in a photo of the finished cardigan, but I will say I am pretty satisfied with it. This was pretty fun. So I think overall, it's like an artistic piece. So I was talking about that project at a recent gathering of some of my local knitting friends. And this girlfriend of mine, Katie, I didn't tell her I was going to talk about this on the podcast, but we're just going to do it. Sorry, Katie. She had brought this ivory skirt to the gathering and said, hey, I know that you like to overdye clothes. Would you be willing to dye this skirt for me? I don't love the ivory. I was like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. So she was saying how she really likes mustard tones as well. So I'll pop in a photo of the before, and here is the after. And I'm actually meeting up with her later to give her this, so I'm really excited. So this fabric is super cool. It has like this tan and rust and almost like a orange. She wanted that to be highlighted and shine through, but she didn't want the ivory. And I think we totally nailed it. So that was another overdye job. And you can do this at home too. Like, you don't have to be a yarn dyer to overdye clothes. I think that products that you can get at like Michael's are so easy to use. I think a lot of it is like the creative vision. And you just kind of have to have a little sense of reckless abandon. So for example, like this was a white t-shirt that I got recently at Old Navy. I thought the drawing was super cute, kind of a French cafe vibe, but I don't look good in white t-shirts because I'm so fair. So I knew I wanted to dye it something kind of colorful. Well, I happen to have some denim RIT dye on hand. And so I dyed this in my washing machine. I did a very diluted amount because I knew I wanted something kind of like light and springy. And if you follow the directions for RIT dye in the washing machine on their website, you know, you too can do it. It is kind of crazy to think you're putting dye in your washing machine. It's not going to get on your future clothes. My tips are, I follow the dye instructions. I run a second like rinse cycle with just soap and water, nothing in the machine. And then I run another one with vinegar, and then I wipe out, so I have a front loader. I wipe out the door, the seals, everything, just to make sure there's no dye residue in the machine. And then I just carry on with my life. So I've been on an overdying kick. Oh, I do have one more overdying thing. A friend of mine up north, she reached out to me and she's like, I have this yarn. It's not working in my project. I can't pinpoint why this color is not aesthetically pleasing. And I said, well, let's just overdye it. We'll figure it out. She knew she wanted something kind of plummy, kind of purpley. And so when I received the yarn, and I'll insert a photo of the before, I realized what wasn't working about it. It was lots of darks, the navy, the green, and this like purplish speckles. This was not my yarn, by the way. And then, like on the other extreme end, lots of white spots or bare spots. And there was no like middle ground to kind of pull the colors together, if you will. And so our plan was to overdye it like a plummy, purpley situation so that we would get rid of the white spots, even out some of the tones. And that's what we did. So this is the yarn. So you can see like this one's a little bit green right here, but basically the greens turned to brown. The navies stayed true. The white spots became like the light plum. I've got some fuzz on here. And then the plummy pink that was already in there just became more like magnified. Oh, what is up with this fuzz? So this is going back to Claudia, and I hope that she loves it. So that was my latest yarn dyeing adventure. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that recently I saw a lady out in public wearing this jacket. And I was like, you made that? And she's like, no, I bought that. And she told me the brand, and I Googled it. And she told me that it goes online for like some ridiculous amount on like, what's that website? Poshmark? But she had bought the jacket several years ago. Probably for also a ridiculous amount. Anyway, I was like, oh, I can totally recreate that. And immediately I had a whole vision. And so here, I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast. Here is my beginning ground. This is a puffer vest from Old Navy. And someone commented that if I were to do it again, I could thrift a vest, which yes, I could, but I had a clear vision for this. So just roll with it. So I got the puffer vest. Then I got this faux, oh, I got fuzz on this. Faux Sherpa fabric from Joann. So you can kind of see like neutral tones. And then I started crocheting hold that thought. I've started crocheting granny squares to go on the back like this. And then I am going to, originally it was all going to be crochet like this, but then I thought I want it to be more of a fiber extravaganza, and I also wanted to make it a little bit easier on myself. So I'm actually going to do a garter panel on the neckband here. And then I'm going to do some different stuff, but basically I'm recreating this in my own way. So this is like my main crafty project right now because it's involving all the things: knitting, sewing, crochet. It's requiring a lot of thought, but I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, you too can do this. So if you are in the Metro Detroit or not, you might know that my local yarn shop, Have You Any Wool, shout out to Shelly. They have this really cool thing called the Motor City Yarn Club. And you can sign up for a month or a quarter or a whole year. I'll link their website below. But they pull in yarn dyers, mostly from Michigan. I think this year is all Michigan. And we each get a month. And we create a colorway inspired by something to do with the Motor City. This is my 4th year doing this, I want to say. The first year I dyed a colorway. I have one. This, which was Detroit's Fox Theater. It was inspired by the Fox Theater. I'll insert a photo of that. Someone sent me a photo of a shawl they made with this colorway. It was absolutely stunning. Then another year, I dyed... What did I dye? Oh, it was inspired by my husband's red Camaro. So that was like a car, you know, Detroit Motor City thing. Then last year, I dyed a colorway based on this hot fudge that's from Detroit by a brand named Sanders. And that actually is something I now stock in my shop. This is the colorway. And this year, I chose Smokey and the Robinson, Smokey Robinson and the, why is it so hard to say? Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. They have a specific album cover. I'll insert a photo. And I chose this as my inspo because I knew I was going to be a spring month for the club. And I wanted like fresh spring vibes. And I wanted to loosely base my colorway on the colors found in this, on this album cover. And so I created this colorway, and if you are interested in this, I think I called it Smokey's Spring Miracle or something like that, contact the yarn shop. I'll link their website below. I think I'm the March dyer. Anyway, so I got the yarn samples dyed for the shop. It's a pre-order, by the way. And last week, was it last week? At a gathering of my knitting friends, I asked one of my friends, Melissa, who recently got a sock knitting machine, if she would crank a tube on her machine of one of the skeins that I had dyed up. Because I wanted to like make a sample, you know, so that the shop can show off how the yarn works out. So I gave her the tube. She cranked it for me. Oops, this is just the, what you were seeing hanging was like how you start the tube, like with contrast color. So she cranked this for me, and the tube was twice as long as this. So I've already made one pair of socks out of the tube that she cranked from one skein. And now I'm gonna make another pair of socks. So I have a 6.5 foot. So I do have small feet, which means I can use more of the yarn to make a taller leg, which I really like. So she cranked 54 stitches on the cylinder, and this totally has me wanting to get a sock knitting machine. And this was my first time doing, you know, socks from a tube. I did, obviously, like, I cut the tube in half. I did afterthought heels, toes, and cuffs. I'll insert a photo of them. Absolutely loved it. I am so obsessed. I had no idea that afterthought heels are basically toes. You make them exactly the same. Who knew? So I'm totally excited about that. And now I just need to finish my second pair. I think I'm going to send these to my mom. She doesn't watch the podcast, I'm pretty sure. Anyway. I am a loose knitter, so when I knit socks, I struggle with gauge. Like, I have to be on a 0, and even then I have to make a concerted effort for gauge. So as far as the tension of the fabric, I really do prefer a cranked sock tube. So I'm really kind of considering getting one of these. I think they make great colorway samples for my booth for show season. So yeah, if you have never knit afterthought heels and toes, or afterthought heels, I really encourage you. Oh, if you want a really good video on how to do this, Jen Geigley of Jen Geigley Knits, she just released a fantastic video. She got a sock knitting machine, and she walks you through the whole process, how to knit it on the machine, how to do afterthought, heels, toes, and cuffs, the whole thing. So highly recommend. Plus, Jen is just a gem of a person. So go follow her. I will link that video below. Or if I can do it here, I'll do it through the magic of YouTube. I have one other knitting thing. I'm debating whether I should share it with you. Do you guys want to be let in on a secret? I'll preview it. So this yarn I recently got for like my fiber shows that I'm going to do this year. This is going to be a special kit in the shop. And as you can see, it's very fuzzy. Like, here's one strand of it. It's alpaca and something else. I can't remember. I don't know. But I thought this would make a really cute teddy bear kit. And so I'm actually knitting up a sample. And here's like a little arm. So this is how it knits up. So don't mind the tail. Anyway, I'm working on that to get it ready for show season. And when it has made more progress, I will show you the finished teddy bear. But if you think that you would be interested in knitting a teddy bear, drop a comment below. It feels weird that right now I really don't have any sweater knitting going on. I put my Varma cardigan to the side because I want to finish up all these little creative projects. And I do want to cast on for the knit along. So I'm going to cast on my Cozy Classic Raglan. I think that's about all I have for you today. A lot of crafty chaos is what it honestly feels like which is good. I just need to like focus on one project, which is the hard thing. It's like squirrel. You get a new idea and you're just boop, 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 boop. Anyway, I just need to focus on one project at a time, so I'm actually finishing something. But I think that's part of the creative process, is having options so that you can just work on whatever you want. Thanks for joining me. I would so appreciate it if you would hit the like button. And if you don't already subscribe. You can hit the bell for notifications when I drop new episodes, which is typically about every 2 weeks. And let me know what you're knitting on. I really enjoy hearing feedback about what patterns are inspiring you and what is and is not working for your creative process. So thanks for joining me for another episode, and until next time, happy stitching. Bye.